Welcome back, guys. So update video time. Here we are sitting just inside of 9 weeks out. But before we get onto that, let's talk about the important change. You may have noticed the man bun is gone. So a little bit of a change in look. I won't lie, I was feeling that at my age, 36, rocking a man bun was maybe getting a little bit desperate, I'm not sure. Plus it's one hell of a faff. So that has gone for the shaved look. Not a bad look, though it has unlocked a new insecurity, which is I have got a very wrinkly head because of the man bun. It's all squishy back there and it looks like a brain, as Yvette calls it. But unfortunately I don't have that much brain to show out of my head. So that's some new hair. I like it. It's a hell of a lot more practical. And on to the update. So like I said, just inside of 9 weeks out, I am fresh off a deload. So I did a deload last week. The reason for that was this total duration of prep before the first show was 18 weeks. So I'd done 8 weeks of really solid training. Starting to feel a little bit beaten up, but nothing crazy. I could have quite happily and easily ploughed on, but it made sense to do a deload last week because that means I've got 8 weeks of training, week of deload, 8 weeks of training, and then it'll be peak week for show number 1. So just sort of logistically and logically, it made a lot of sense. So within that, all I did was drop to 3 training sessions a week, reduced volume slightly. So I took away a couple of back off sets, removed all drop sets, and just freshened up really. You know, I didn't change food. Obviously I ran non-training day food a little bit more. And the outcome of that was I started the week at 310 pounds and I ended the week at 304.8 pounds. I had intended to hold body weight last week, but it just didn't happen. So obviously on lower food due to more rest days, that's part of it. I do think there's an element of information that helped drop the weight. But midweek I actually had some higher, nothing crazy. I had an extra 650 calories on Wednesday, an extra 350 on Thursday. That seemed to hold weight around 307 and then it dropped towards the back end of the week. So the Sunday just gone, I had my first kind of real high day of prep. 1100 grams of carbs, they went down a treat, my weight is 304.8, and then the morning after it was up to 307.8. So it did what I needed it to do, it just sort of topped me up. I felt fuller, I felt again fresher, so a nice way to end the deload week. And here we are. So changes wise, I'll be honest guys, like looking back to when we last updated, training day calories are still at 3850. Cardio, I'll do it logically. So training days calories still at 3850. I had a minor change in non-training day calories. They're now at 3210. So I basically just added steak into my last meal, removed carbs, and just adjusted some of my meals so they were a little bit more satiating in the day. But a slight calorie drop there. Cardio still at 25 minutes, 6 times a week. Steps are 5,500. I'm not sure if that's gone up from 5,000. That may well have changed there. And then outside of that, the only other kind of addition, which is definitely responsible for kind of pushing things on, is an addition of T3. Just 12.5 micrograms. I'm quite sensitive to T3, so a small amount really gets things going. I introduced that because between 12 weeks out and 11 weeks out, my average body weight only dropped by 0.7. But then since then, it dropped like between then beginning of last week, end of last week, an average body weight drop of kind of 5 pounds. So we're well and truly moving there. So that's kind of the update. Drugs are still the same. I know I kind of mention little additions with what I'm using, but I don't go into the full detail. I will, and I promise you this, I will go through everything when I finish prep. The reason I don't want to do this now is because I know that there are people out there who, while they will help my algorithm and comment the shit out of it, will want me to die, will say I'm being an idiot, and I'm well aware of the risks I'm taking. I don't really need the aggro, I don't really need the negativity, I don't need the stress right now. So when I'm in a position to share all of that and deal with it, I will do that with you. And then finally, last week I did have my bloods done mid-cycle. So again, without going into too much detail, drugs are the highest they have ever been. So I did bloods more out of interest and kind of from an educational standpoint for myself and maybe for you guys as well, because I've never done them at this point in prep. I'm not sure there's a lot of value in it because I'm committed to the shows. You know, they'd have to be pretty diabolical for me to just change anything. But I was interested, and maybe you guys will find it interesting. So we'll put them on the screen. But kind of in comparison to last, which was towards the end of my cruise phase, back in end of April, compared to now, red blood cell count or blood count is still great. Kidneys are fantastic. EGFR is actually better. Liver, as expected, my ALT is always off. Anyway, higher drugs, more liver inflammation there. Plus, the bloods were done with only a day's rest of training, and like I said, the end of a hard block of training. So there will be some kind of transfer of information there. Cholesterol, as expected, taking a bit of a hit, but nothing crazy. HDL, which was 0.7, is down to 0.6. The cholesterol HDL ratio is up kind of quite considerably, and that's, although my cholesterol itself is in range, that's gone up from last time, so the ratio skewed there. And again, that's just down to the drugs. You know, if you take them and you know about them, you know there are certain things that are going to be impacted with higher use. So again, it's kind of not a surprise to me, and it's more of just an interesting reference point. And then to see, you know, for example, this time next year when I've had an extended period of lower use and, you know, not a change in lifestyle, but obviously that's not going to be as prominent a factor. It'll be interesting to see where they are. Hormones, as expected, you know, ramped up sky high. You know, I would be worried if they weren't because of what I'm taking. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with them. You know, it's one of those where you sit back, you look at your current position you're in, what you're taking. Obviously, if I had these readings on minimal PED use, I would think there might be something awry. But here we are. So I'll be able to compare these post-show and go through there. But I just thought it was kind of an interesting little thing to talk about. And that pretty much wraps up this update. You know, things are moving fantastically well. As of this morning, like I said, I am 307.4 pounds. So, you know, we're at the point now where I'm seeing kind of changes and details quite regularly. It's exciting because normally my body changes a lot quicker in the second half of prep, whereas I am miles ahead than I've ever been going into this point. So it's just going to be a question of using strategic high days, maybe even back-to-back high days here and there to maintain fullness, still see results. What I don't want to do now is, you know, I'm in a fortunate position where I don't need to run really, really flat, I don't believe, and I can still see that progress. So yeah, that's where we're at. Mentally feeling good, physically feeling fantastic, excited for what's to come. That's all there is to it. Please, if you've got any questions, you know, let me know, especially about the blood work. I know that always gets a little bit of interest. A few guys who track their own blood work aren't sure about certain things and ask, and I'm always happy to kind of give my insight. Again, I'm not a doctor, but I've been tracking my own blood work, my clients' blood work for many years. So, you know, in terms of an understanding around it, I'd say I have it. So yeah, that wraps up this update. Thank you very much for everybody's support. Please keep liking, commenting, subscribing, and if you want to be an absolute hero, share, because that then just gets my reach out there a little bit more. And until next time, I will see you. Thank you very much, guys. Take care.